I used to be a journalist, and many women were coming up to me to complain about, the fact that, the husband's beating them up, the husband has taken a second wife, the, husband not paying maintenance. And then when they go to the Sharia courts or to the religious departments to complain about the unjust treatment, they're often told that, but that's his right in Islam. That religion that I love is used as a source of law and public policy in Muslim countries and used to justify discrimination against women. And I find that totally outrageous and unacceptable. And obviously, in the work that we do on Islam and women's rights, there are incredible verses that exist within the Quran that talks about men and women being each other's friend, being each other's protector, that men and women are like garments to each other. And it talks about compassion in the relationship, love and compassion in the relationship between men and women. So the question that arose is, how come these verses in the Quran that talk about love, about compassion, about friendship, about each being men and women being each other's friend and protector, why is it that these verses that promote egalitarian and a just relationship between men and women, why aren't these verses and these values that exist in the Quran be the source of law? The need for us to challenge, to create a public voice and a public culture of debate on matters of religion is extremely important, because religion has been controlled by the patriarchs, in our community, by men who actually believe that, men and women are not equal, and use the religion to justify that inequality and injustice against women. And it is women's groups and it is women who are most affected by these discriminatory laws. It is us who are raising our voice, who are building our knowledge, building our courage to really challenge the ways that the religious authorities have used Islam to justify discrimination against women and to justify their resistance why these laws cannot be changed. Because when we demand reform of the laws to end discrimination against women, they say these laws cannot be challenged because these are Islamic laws, these are the word of God, this is divine law, it cannot be challenged, it cannot be questioned, it cannot be changed. But the point that we make is, if you want to use Islam as a source of law and public policy, then everyone, especially those who are affected by these discriminatory laws, we all have a right to speak on Islam. If you don't want us, and we tell them, you don't want us to speak on Islam, you take Islam out of the public space. In terms of criminalizing domestic violence, it's civil society, it's women's rights groups that have been at the forefront and been critical in bringing about an understanding that domestic violence is unacceptable and is a crime. So women's groups are extremely important in pushing for the law reform, because we work on the ground with women who are affected by these discriminatory, unjust laws and practices. We do research to develop the scholarship to justify why reform is important. And we do the public education work to build support for law reform. So change is not going to happen. Change is not going to come on a silver platter. We have to fight for that change. We have to make the case for reform. And in the end, we need to build public support for the urgency of reform. So all that needs a lot of hard work. How do we make it politically costly for the government to continue to justify discrimination against women? The governments are falling behind, really, because women's groups have been working on law reform for decades, pushing. And governments are just not summoning the political will and the political courage needed to move forward on this. And really, in Muslim context, like in the context of Malaysia, is really outrageous, because the governments have no problem reforming laws that discriminate against women for non-Muslims. So the Family Law Act for non-Muslims have been reformed to recognize equality. I really want to see an end to the use of Islam to justify discrimination against women. I want to see amendments to Muslim family law that recognize equality and justice, that uphold equality and justice for Muslim women. I want to see a tradition of public debate on matters of religion in Muslim context, that religion is not the stranglehold and the hegemony of the religious authorities, of patriarchal religious authorities, that women and those who are affected by discriminatory laws and policies justified in the name of Islam, that we have the right to speak out, to engage in bringing about a new understanding of Islam that recognizes the possibility of change towards equality and justice, and that recognize that reform is possible and change is possible towards equality and justice.